a 6.0 oil pan. I got the filter out, the drain plug's out, it's draining. If you watch the 5.3 video, you'll know that there's a four-wheel drive right up in here that gets in the way, but don't have any of that. Let's see if I can find a good spot. There we go, that's a good spot for the light. So you can see the pan goes all the way to the front. All we got in the way is this skid plate. Should be 15 millimeters, or actually those ones look like 18. It's either 15 or 18 millimeter. I'll let you guys know with that skid plate. And it's the same cross member as the 5.3 with the 2 bolts on that side, and then instead of the 2 bolts on, they would be on the bottom here, but there's no 4-wheel drive, so instead the cross member just goes straight across. We're just going to pop out those 2 bolts there, 2 bolts down there, drop the cross member out, pull the skid plate, and from there, really on this one, that should be about everything. You can see there's way up, like right there, there's a little bolt holding those hard transmission cooler lines. And then just like on the 5.3, I think we'll have the bolts through the bell housing there, that one wire to unhook there, and then those wire looms there should have one 10 millimeter bolt in, but I'll show all that when we get there. Most of the other information you can find watching the 5.3 video. Well, I got the little 10 millimeter on the front that was holding the wire loom harness on. Popped the 2 10 millimeters out of the cooler, pulled that gasket down. Got that little electrical connector out, so for the most part, we should be unhooked. We just, at this point, have this cross member that we could probably work with the way it is, because it does sort of hang down. That should give us enough room to get that out. We can't get it out because there's these through bolts that, as you can see, are just smooth in there. Maybe if you can see. Either way, it's just smooth in there. So they should just be the nut and then slide through, but we have mushroomed the head of this one trying to pound it through, and it won't come out. So we're in the process of dealing with that problem. Alright, so the cross member's out. Had to get out a torch, heat this thing that was rusted in there. As you can see, it's a little bent. Then we mushroomed the head, so we had to cut that off with a grinder and pound it out. So now we're gonna need a new one of these cross member bolts, but we do have the cross member out, so we're gonna start taking out oil pan bolts. Alright, so 6.0 pan's off. Look at all that room on this one. If you don't know what I'm talking about, check out my 5.3 oil pan video. Lots of room to work here though. All we really got is the same wire loom here that was on the 5.3. We're just gonna slide it up and over that first, I think. And then we got the cooler over here out of the way right now. Put the gasket on that second. Got this this surface cleaned up a little bit here with some brake clean and some razor blades. So, as well as this one. And like I said, the only difference is instead of having that blocker plate, that oil cooler goes on the side there. Spent a little more time cleaning out the inside of this one and hit the outside with some brake clean a little bit. Got our 2 gaskets here, so I am gonna RTV both sides of the gasket like I did on the 5.3 video. And I got a hand today to help get it back up in, so send you a pic when we get it up inside. So we are giving up for today. As you can see, I still have to acquire that bolt that we had to heat and cut to pound out. So I gotta figure out something to do with that, which is right there. Take it in and try to match it up. And then, unfortunately, the broken bolt there is actually the oil cooler bolt. So I was trying to do that without torque spec like an irresponsible mechanic and snapped it off. So now I get to try to find that, take care of that. So a little lesson for y'all. Everything else, we got the skid plate, all the pan bolts are snug back up. Just got to get those 2 bolts so we can't put the oil in and start it until then, but everything else is wrapped up. Just showing you guys that lots of problems occur sometimes. Alright, so 6.0 motor, top piece of shit plastic thing's off because we don't even keep it on. It sits over here in the corner because it doesn't do you any good except for say the word Vortec. What we're doing is replacing this EGR purge valve with a new one here. It's just one 10mm bolt in the side, a little wire clip that just pops off on the back side. This little guy here that goes in is actually a pain. So what you want to do is move that plastic clip out just a little bit to fit over top of that lip. So there's like a center point, so if it's too far out, it won't work, and if it's all the way pushed back in like that there, then it's locked. You can actually see the bottom there. So it comes with this little rubber gasket that I think we're gonna put back on. It looks like it's just like a shock absorber, but it probably function without it if you don't have it. Alright, so we're looking at this little guy down here. This is the oil pressure sending unit. You got a truck that reads good oil pressure after it's warmed up, but wondering if maybe it's sticking, and that's why the gauge is reading 0 when we start it. So this is what it looks like back there. You have to buy this specialty socket to fit over top of it. They'll have it at the parts store when you buy the sending unit, but it's just a standard clip plug-in. Slide the socket over it like a spark plug, twist it out. So it's all going to be about getting this wrench in that hole I just showed you.
She still doesn't really understand the...
Got it in there. Back there in the bottom, I basically took the socket and just put a little turn on it. It's just a sensor, don't reef it and break it.